Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Bavro and Austin Underground. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking this morning. Get your questions in. We're going to get to those here in a little bit, but we got a lot to talk about first, including it being a big night last night for Texas offensive tackle Kelvin Banks, who's still up for some other awards. But Jerry, I'm going to let you tell everybody why this is such a big deal, and then I'm going to play the video.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is what Steve Sarkisian's done. I mean, he's brought the awards back to Texas. Players are coming to Texas and developing and winning awards. And Kelvin Banks, Bobby, was one of maybe the key recruit for Texas outside of Quinn Ewers in the Sark era when he flipped from Oregon after Mario Cristobal thankfully went to Miami. And after that followed Cam Williams. But Kelvin Banks wins the Lombardi Award last night over Will Campbell, Kyle Kennard from South Carolina, and Abdul Carter from Penn State. And in doing so, he's the first winner for Texas since Brian Arakpo in 2008. He's the fourth all-time winner of this award for the University of Texas. It had been 16 years. Prior to that, Kenneth Sims in 1981, Tony DeGray, 1984. This is a big deal for Texas. I mean, you know, Tavondre Sweat won the Outland last year. Jahdae Barron's up for the Thorpe tonight. Banks is up for the Outland tonight. But Texas is bringing home national awards. And one, it's great to celebrate. That means you're winning football games. This is big for recruiting too, though, guys. I mean, when guys, Bobby, ultimate dreams to be in the NFL, but to get there, there's a lot of things for these guys. And holding that Lombardi trophy by Kelvin Banks last night is a really big deal for the University of Texas in recruiting, and Kyle Flood and everybody's message.
Bijan won the Doak in 2022.
Yeah.
Look, I'm the same way. Let's listen to the announcement here for Kelvin.
And that's his father.
This year is Kelvin Banks.
Hey, that award is given down in Houston, where he is a native of Houston, by the way. Good stuff for Kelvin. I love that block of granite. That's a really good award. You know, that when you see that award, it's not like these others that may have. The Heisman is definitely one of those awards. I think the Lombardi actually may be the second most cool award because of that block of granite. But to your point, Jerry, and this is exactly what I wrote on this morning on Texas football. What do they want? What do players want? They want to be compensated now by NIL. They want to go and play in the college football playoffs and win. They want to be able to win awards, and you know they want to be put on display so that they can put their best foot forward. Sark has got all of that going for him right now, all of it. And when you start talking about, just the allure of a school. The number 4 ranked team as far as viewership all year, number 1 ranked game that they played in all year from a television viewership. All of that compounds and just adds to the story, which I think is huge. I also want to say he's up for the Outland tonight. You mentioned that up against Mason Graham of Michigan, Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. Jahdae Barron, by the way, also up for the Thorpe. You mentioned that. Up against Malachi Starks at Georgia and Caleb Downs, sophomore, up at Ohio State. So we're happy for Kelvin Banks. This is a guy, Jerry, that you followed his recruitment from the very outset, originally committed to Oregon, then has second thoughts after Mario Cristobal leaves Oregon and takes the Miami job. A bit of fortune there for Texas, but also our first acknowledgement of two things. Steve Sarkisian's unwillingness to go to tier 2 players. That's what Kelvin Banks stood for, right? If you really think back at it as a program. And then second, just the Pancake Factory. He was part of it, right? And 3 starters right now on the offensive line from the Pancake Factory. That started that whole motion or whatever you want to call it, movement. Big shout out to Kelvin Banks, but also those 2 things set into process everything that we've seen since in some way.
There is one thing that I think we can say nothing's ever 100% normally, but I think this is as close as you get. If Sark and Kyle Flood had not been patient in the 2022 recruiting class on the offensive line, Texas would not have been in the playoffs last year, and they wouldn't be in it this year.
Yep.
I mean, they got an All-American left tackle, Cam Williams, whether he goes first or second round, whatever it is. DJ Campbell was a 5-star ranked prospect, and they had to wait. Neto was a highly ranked prospect. They had to wait on all these guys. They had a lot of spots to fill when that season began. And then they're in the midst of a 5-7, what ended up being a 5-7 season with some ugly losses. And they didn't back off of, and look, I was flat out told those are the guys we have to get if we're going to turn this program around. Period. That was the end of the message. And that group, that offensive line group, Cole Hudson included in that, right? Connor Robertson was in that group. But that group of linemen, I mean, look, 3 of them start. Cole Hudson's your number 6 offensive lineman. All 4 of those guys. Cole Hudson started as a true freshman. Then he started having some injury issues, right? Those 4 guys are where Texas is at today. I mean, yes, Quinn was huge too, but it doesn't matter if you don't have that offensive line class.
Hey, one other thing about awards I wanted to bring up, because I think we were all kind of surprised by this. We looked it up beforehand, but Mark Valdez says no Remington nomination for Jake Majors.
He wasn't even third team All SEC.
Yeah, I don't know I don't know who the finalists are on that, but if it's the Tennessee center, maybe he wins it. Maybe Cooper Mays is the guy.
Yeah, I just feel bad. I do think that the SEC, again, those awards, all SEC or the SEC teams are voted on by the coaches. And again, I think that half the coaches that were in the league last year, they still haven't seen any Texas players in person. Whereas previously there was a bigger cross section that would get to vote for those guys. So I do think there's a little bit of that involved, but we'll see where that goes as well. I'm really excited though for Kelvin Banks. Well-deserved award. He has done nothing since he got to Texas except be exemplary. I want to add this too. The minute he stepped on campus, Jerry, and he was not a midterm. No, it was not a midterm, by the way. The minute he stepped on campus, by the second week, he was the starter at left tackle.
And I want to say
we saw the first practice, Jerry. We went up there. By the second week, he was the starter at left tackle.
And I want to say this too. You can't do everything he's done without being a professional mindset at a young age and being really mature.
Yes.
When he left high school. His parents should be really proud. You can't accomplish all that if you're not a mature individual.
Came in with the right attitude. Bijan Robinson even commented on it. Remember that?
Yeah.
Bijan's like, well, this guy acts like he's a junior or senior already. He didn't want any kind of fluff coming near him during a workout. Bijan was like, he's all work. He brought his hard hat every day. And to that, I mean, cheers to you, Kelvin Banks.
Before we get to our next subject, I have a request for the chat this morning. I'm looking at frost on the roof in Friendswood, Texas. If anybody knows any really talented football prospects in the Bahamas I can go evaluate, please let me know. I'm going to start closer to the equator recruiting.com if it gets any closer. I hate cold weather. Please help me out in the chat.
There's a play. Hey, Leonga LaPaz from Hawaii.
I'm out for it.
It's too cold. I'm with you,
said I hate cold weather to go anywhere.
I'd much rather be 100 than whatever it is right now, 40 by far. All right, before we move on, Bobby, I need you to let everyone know about Rick Vavro and Austin Underground.
Yeah, absolutely. Since 2004, Austin Underground has specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider just too risky. Rick and his team offer end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time, on budget, on time. That's Austin Underground. I also want to say this. Rick has a bar that he started out in Jonestown, Texas, called the Lone Star Bar. If you happen to be out that way near the lake and just want to spend some time hanging out, visit Rick and the guys over at Lone Star Bar.
Thank you for that, Bobby. All right, guys, next topic that we need to discuss is a very hot one this time of year, and that's the portal. What's the latest there?
Well, we just got news today. Matt Zenitz of 24/7 Sports, a national beat writer that does a tremendous job, by the way, on the portal news, Jerry. He's just tremendous. Saying that Texas will be receiving an official visit today. That from Max Clare, a tight end. Jerry, we wondered if Texas might be interested in a tight end because of the lack of production returning. Only 5 catches among the returning tight ends next year, I think. Overall this season. Claire was a third-team all-conference Big Ten selection at Purdue, 51 catches, 685 yards this past season. He would be the guy that's been very, very productive. He's originally from the state of Indiana, but look at the numbers, pretty strong. A 62-yard catch for a tight end, by the way, means he's got some legs to him, Jerry. He could be that Gunnar Helm type guy. That more is in the slot, and we'll see exactly what this means. But Texas not going light right now, in my opinion. They're going to go heavy in the portal to try to win this. He's already gotten a number of other offers. I know A&M has been involved at some point, Louisville as well. I think we'll see what happens. Texas also, we believe, talking to Dylan Thieneman, a safety out of Purdue, so same team. Perhaps also interested in Cole Brevard, a defensive tackle out of Purdue. So we'll see if this West Lafayette to Austin train gets going here with Max Clare later today.
I know Buffalo. I've been watching the news, man. I can't imagine like 60 inches of snow or something. That's crazy. Well, one of the things on Clare, he was born in Indiana. He ended up in high school at St. Xavier in Cincinnati. So one of the very best high school programs in the country, definitely in the Midwest. That school's produced a number of guys. I think 2 or 3 guys on Clemson's national title team there. But some is, he had some really big games this year. I mean, he had 6 for 133. And keep in mind, a team that beat Indiana State 49-0 and lost the rest of their games. So, you're playing at a high level on a team that was really, truly struggling. And has now gone through a coaching change, obviously. There, but he had 6 for 133 and a 50-49 loss at Illinois. He had 7 for 91 in a loss to Penn State. 49. Hey, Jerry, he's putting up numbers in losses.
Hey, I want to mention this real quick. Rooting for Jordan Washington to take over. I want to say this. There's 2 spots available, guys. Just Texas. What was Texas in 12 personnel? 40 or 50% of the time this year? Don't forget that. I mean, it's not one player at tight end for Texas. So whether it's Jordan Washington, Spencer Shannon, Nick Townsend, or whoever, there's 2 spots at tight end for Texas. And I would say that of the ones returning right now, Washington probably ahead of Nyblack. This is more of a receiving tight end.
Well, and it's also bigger body. Yeah, it's also putting 2 bigger body guys on the field at the same time. I mean, Juan Davis, heck of a year for Texas, played his butt off. He's stayed in the program, but I think it's also bigger bodies. If you're playing 2 tight ends in the SEC,
so that's what Georgia did. They were able to run against Texas.
Yeah,
they had 2 bigger bodies.
And we're getting a few questions. A few questions, mostly about Nyblack here. Do y'all think does this mean that Nyblack is gone? Asked Jesse Ullman.
Not yet. That was not one that I had heard. Is it possible? Anything is possible. We need to mention this now. Yesterday, and we'll get to the Arizona players that people have mentioned as well in a little bit when we talk more portal. But it needs to be mentioned that Sadir Mitchell, right as we were taping the state of the program yesterday, Sadir Mitchell entered his name into the transfer portal. Guys, that was there were 2 players that I thought could cut Texas a little bit. Not cut Texas is not the right term. That I thought might enter the portal that would hurt Texas a little. Sadir Mitchell was one of those two. There's still another one out there. We'll see what happens or transpires. I don't think anything there would happen until after Clemson. I said that there was one guy that was kind of waiting in the wings that might play a role next year, and one guy that is what's the right way to put this? One guy that is a current contributor. Mitchell was the one I had heard in the wings that was waiting for a spot, but he went ahead and put his name in the portal yesterday. Longhorns now have several in that way that have put their name in the portal. I think that by and large, though, Texas has yet to be really hurt. Now, the loss of Mitchell, Jerry, does put an emphasis, in my opinion, on the need at defensive tackle, a further emphasis, actually. That means that Texas is now losing 7 defensive tackles after this season, with only 3 returning and 3 coming in. I mean, Texas has got to do a lot of work at defensive tackle in the portal.
Yeah, I think I think the real number is the guys that played that are departing, right? I mean, like guys who are just transferred out that were on the roster that didn't have any snaps and weren't impactful. They don't really factor into it for me. But I think this means Texas is going to take 4 guys. And that's what I think. It was 3 before. Now it's 4. I think they're looking for 2 really high-end players, which are the hardest to win at that position in the portal, because A&M, everybody's going to be going after the same guys. And then I think 2 really good rotational players, but experienced guys. And it's not going to be – maybe you take one guy that doesn't have a lot of production that they like the upside of, that's actually been de-recruited, as we call it, and been through a year of finding his way or 2 years in college football. But, I think that's kind of going to be the case. You're not anybody that's swinging for the fences with 4 of the 4 best defensive tackles in the country that go in the portal. Those people are going to be disappointed if that's the expectation, because they're way too competitive of races from an NIL front. Look at Dominic Williams last year. So I think 2 really high-end frontline guys and a couple of really good rotational pieces, with the understanding that there is 3 really talented freshmen coming in. And I'm not sitting here saying one of those guys, and Alex January is a high-end guy next year. I'm not one of those guys sitting there saying one of those freshmen for sure going to start or going to take or going to race past anybody to get out of the portal. But I'll also say this: raise your hand if you thought Jaden Jackson would start as a freshman for Oklahoma on a good defense, bad offense, but good defense. So it's not out of the question with the talent level Texas is bringing in the spring, and the Torrey Becton offseason workouts will determine a lot of that. But Texas does have 3 really talented freshmen coming in that are going to compete.
I got to say this. The other thing I would add to this whole list of tight ends that we're talking about, if they're looking at Max Clare at tight end, they're likely going to take 1 in this class. And so the others that I've got listed right now, Kamarian Pimpton, if you remember that name, Texas took a heavy look at him 2 years ago out of the Dallas area. He's in the portal from LSU. He is more of an inline guy. Deuce Robinson at USC. Texas recruited the heck out of him. Jeff Banks did out of Arizona. He signed with USC. Now he's more of a outside receiving tight end. We'll see if he didn't play in line much. And then Terrence Carter, Jerry, that's the one that's originally from Killeen out of Louisiana Lafayette. He's a smaller guy, but he's a lot like Juan Davis. He's got a little nasty to him, but also highly productive. So there's 4 tight ends that might need to be mentioned. Blake, I want to bring up the next guy I want to bring up in the portal, if you don't mind, is Takario Davis. There was a report yesterday by an Arizona reporter that Texas was, quote, the leader in the clubhouse for Takario Davis, a cornerback that is a 2-time All Pac-12 or 1-time All Pac-12 performer, 1-time All Big 12 performer at Arizona. Long arm corner out of Long Beach, 6'4", 190. He was the prize. He would have been a top 10 portal entrant last year. He decided to go back to Arizona. Now he's re-entered his name in the portal. The issue with Takario Davis, and Jerry brought this up, is he might actually still go pro instead of going into the portal. So he's in the portal, but instead of that, he may by January 15th or whatever that is, he may be in there. This is this Tacario Davis? Is that correct? His stats?
Yeah.
43 total tackles, passes defended 6. Look at the previous year when they went at him more, though. Look at the number of passes defended. 15. That is an insane number for a corner. Insane. Like, imagine a better, like A&M had Will Lee, right, Jerry? Same kind of body build. Tacario Davis, a better player. A&M picked up Will Lee from Kansas State. Same kind of play. This might be a guy that plays opposite Manny Muhammad, et cetera, on this point. I want to add this. Another player to watch that this Arizona reporter mentioned was Dalton Johnson. Dalton Johnson is a 2-year starter at safety for Arizona. A lot of production. He was a 3-time all-district guy at Katy. So sophomore on, he was all-district. The issue there is I don't know if he's necessarily at the top of the board for the Longhorns. Definitely good enough to play at Texas. Not sure if him or a guy like Dylan Thieneman out of Purdue are I don't know which way direct, but it looks like Texas is definitely going to go for a safety at this point.
Yeah, by the way, the one thing I caution on with the portal is anybody that's saying, oh, this guy's headed here for sure. What happens if a school comes in and offers 7 figures? Well, he's no longer going to be leaning to one school. I mean, this stuff can really change. Sandman 02023 has a good question. What kind of bear is best? One that doesn't go to 7 schools in 8 years. Right. Not that one.
Oh, man. All right. Well, we've talked about the portal. Of course, we'll come back to some of y'all's portal questions here in a little bit. But next, guys, let's jump over to recruiting, Jerry. High school recruiting, which is, after National Signing Day and with the portal going on, kind of forgotten about right now, but still going on.
Yeah, so a lot of the top 2026 kids are starting to drop their junior videos and highlights. And I wanted to bring up John Turntine today because with the questions been on Texas football and even here in the chat, who's your must-get recruit in 2026? Well, this is my guy. I thought he's the best offensive line prospect in the state since I saw him his sophomore year period. And I think Michael Fasusi could be a great player. This guy, the best player. This guy's an amazing football player. His athleticism is off the charts. Some people in the recruiting ranking world may ding him because he's 6'3" and 5'8". That's just not going to be smart. He's got length. He is probably going to be a 6'3" and 5'8", 310-pound guy. He's not going to be massive frame guy. But, Bobby, if there was ever a perfect fit for Sark's scheme on offensive tackle, this may be the guy. He is this high-level guy. Georgia, A&M, Oklahoma, Georgia, Tennessee, you name it, Ohio State, everybody wants this guy. And it's because his intelligence, top 5% of his class. At one point in time, I think he was number 2 in his class. Overall, top 5% in his class, if not like top 2% in his class. Great football intelligence, great athleticism, can play in space. He is going to be really strong, too. Dad was all-conference defensive lineman at TCU under Gary Patterson. I think Texas leads here. This is my must-get recruit in 2026. There just aren't many guys this athletic playing in space at tackle.
I like the physical strength that he plays with. Seems to play to the whistle a lot, Jerry. Obviously, I'm not watching game film. These are just highlights, but you can understand why you like him so much. And you did. I will vouch for you. When you saw him as a sophomore, you literally called me while you were leaving the school and said, I think I may have seen a guy that's going to be the number 1 recruit in his class. Yeah. So I'll vouch for you on that. I will say this, those people that worry about undersized left tackles, Kelvin Banks is an undersized left tackle.
Yeah.
And you talk about recruiting people getting it wrong. I remember a certain person saying that Kelvin Banks could never play left tackle. He didn't have the feet. People that avow themselves as offensive line experts saying that, and all he did was just, win the Lombardi last night, up for the Outland this week. So I agree with you. 6'3" and 5'8" it's plenty big. Plenty big to play left tackle
with an 80-inch wingspan. It's the wingspan. And when you're this athletic, I mean, and he's physical. And by the way, huge game against Duncanville this weekend for those guys.
Oh, is that North Crowley's playing Duncanville this weekend?
Yep, semifinals rematch from last year. Duncanville smoked them. Duncanville's the favorite, but I think it could be a really, really good game.
It's been a wild year in high school football. You never know what's going to happen. And someone did ask a couple people, I think, about how they can watch the game. All playoff games for the UIL are on NFHS, so you'll have to get a subscription to that most likely.
NHS in National High School Football, basically, or national?
NF as in Frank, HS.
NFHS.
So NFHS. Okay. If you'll go to NFHS.com, you can get a subscription, and you can watch pretty much all the playoff games. So that's probably the best.
And if you're in the area, I think this game's being played at Allen Saturday. 35-40 future Division I players on this field. If you want to go to a mini college game, this is your game. I have 3 5-stars on the field in this game. Guys ranked 5 stars. And so, and one super freak at wide receiver and one super freak at left tackle. And some really, really good players around them. Jonathan Cunningham, Texas committed linebacker. Obviously, DeCorian Moore, Keelan Russell going to Bama. The list goes on and on and on. This will be as talented of a high school game as there is in the state of Texas. I think that's
the little guy at North Crowley is a special little player too, though, Jerry.
Yeah,
For high school, for sure. He may be somebody that makes people rue not taking him at a bigger school.
Yeah, and he's got power fours. I don't. Did he sign with Ole Miss? People in the chat can tell me. Quentin Gibson, did he sign with Ole Miss? I can't remember if he signed there or not. But yeah, he's a guy that's going to be a really good player.
All right, y'all. Before we move on to our next topic, Bobby, will you let everyone know about Tecovas?
Yeah, we would like to welcome Tecovas as a sponsor of On Texas Football. Texans know that anywhere worth going is worth going in good boots. Tecovas are handcrafted with every stitch on point. Tecovas boots are made for a good time and a long time. I love the fact that they're already broken in for comfort right out of the box. And Tecovas makes it easy for anyone to find their favorite boot. With all kinds of sizes and styles, Tecovas are simply the best boot around. I really like that they can either be daily boots or you can feel dressed up in them right now. Get 10% off at tecovas.com/Texas football when you sign up for email and text alerts. These are really great gifts for Christmas. That's 10% off tecovas.com/Texas football. With Tecovas Best in the West guarantee, you get free returns and exchanges for 30 days. Tecovas.com/Texas football. See their site for more details. Tecovas, guys, point your toes west this Christmas.
Thanks. In the chat, it was Colorado over Ole Miss. That's a good job. Thank you for that. I couldn't remember where Quentin Gibson signed. Really good player.
And speaking of really good, Jerry, tell us about the really good Manscaped products that you love to talk about so much.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, it's holiday season. That means it's the Beard and Balls bundle, baby. All right, fellas. Oh, that's back. It's back. All right, fellas. Holiday season is here, and trust me, you don't want to be the guy showing up with tangled tinsel in your ornaments. Luckily, our friends at Manscaped have got you covered from head to, down the chimney with the Beard and Balls bundle. Featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 and the Beard Hedger, this bundle will make sure your gift's worth unwrapping. Get ready for those mistletoe moments and get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. Look, guys, cut through the North Pole of bushes with ease, gentle on your most delicate Christmas ornaments. That's the thing to remember. Of all else in this read, join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to stay sharp this holiday season. Get the Beard and Balls bundle today and slay your grooming routine. Get 20% off plus free shipping with code ONTEXAS at manscaped.com. Because Santa isn't the only one who needs his sack well-groomed this year. And by the way, how great is it that we broke out the 5.0s at a lot of football stadiums around the country this year. Broke one out at an awards banquet last night. Get out of here, Will Campbell. Get out of here, Kyle Kennard. Get out of here, Abdul Carter. Kelvin Banks broke out the 5.0.
Oh man, I love the Manscaped holiday commercials.
By the way, people are talking in the chat about the number is 4 on D line, D tackles in the portal. People are saying
no longer 3 or 4 with Sadir going.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that leads me to this question from Jake Miranda. He said, excuse me, don't you think since we're going to have to rely on younger players on the line that we really need 5 to 6 transfers there?
No, I don't. Because, I mean, look how many guys actually played snaps this year.
Primarily 4.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would argue that because of this freshman D-line class, if you hit what you need to in the portal, you may actually have more quality depth next year. These guys are really good. These guys are really talented players, and they're all 3 in for spring.
Especially with Alex January coming back. Alex January had, I think CJ said 78 snaps.
86 so far.
Or 86 is what it was. Yeah. So he is the only one of those guys. Aaron Bryant, Sadir Mitchell, none of those guys got more than Alex. So he's going to be the elder statesman of the young guys. I think they're going to bring in older guys through the portal. That's what's going to happen. And so we'll see. I don't think they need to take 5 or 6. I think they definitely need 3 really good ones, though, to create a rotation. Because of the 3 incoming guys, whether it's Charles or Sharma or even Justice Terry, one of those 3 is likely to step up. Along with Alex January stepping up and being who he is, I think you still need 3 of the incoming guys, or maybe 4, to create a really solid rotation. Because one of those defensive linemen will absolutely have that same kind of Alex January role where they start getting indoctrinated into the system, so to speak. You know what I mean? Where Alex January started playing some in the first quarter, just so Texas could show him what a game is like when the game's still on the line. You know, they didn't want him just to get time in the fourth quarter. They'll find somebody like that in this recruiting class. Plus, they'll have 3 or 4 from the portal. That's the game plan. They got to execute, but that's the game plan.
I actually think they're going to be all right there. I mean, look, chat and everybody who thought Texas was in trouble this year.
At times.
And that was with one talented freshman coming. And by the way, Melvin Hill's thought to be a good future rotational player too. So sometimes we sleep on the guys that redshirt, but that guy's got a motor now, and he's now got the size to go with it, and he's got the work. He's put in the work.
All right, David Barrett, super chat.
That's really good to hear.
David asks, any insights into why the 3 defensive linemen entered the portal? Because it was an area of need in June.
Getting over recruiting.
Yeah.
I think with 2 of them couldn't crack the lineup, right? Aaron Bryant. But boy, again, every time I say that guy's name now, I'm going to remember the letter that he wrote. If you haven't seen that, by the way, please go read it. Just a tremendous letter. We posted it on our site on TexasFootball.com. If you haven't taken the time to read that, that is a way you leave someplace. Period. Full stop. Just great job by that young man. Wish him the best wherever he goes. With Tia Savea, he was not going to play at Texas. That's basically what my understanding. Sadir Mitchell is differently situated, okay, in that he had an opportunity to go play at Texas. I think he thought he was probably valued more elsewhere, is my understanding. Yeah. And so Texas needs more production and needs that. Texas can't go into this season, and I want to say this, and it's not a shot at Sadir at all, but they need more reliability from whoever they get out of the portal. They need some people that are reliable, because if Texas can get reliable defensive linemen and fill in a spot or 2 here or there elsewhere, with Arch Manning at quarterback, with a young, they've got the pieces. Texas has the pieces. They just need to backfill it. And I will say this: Steve Sarkisian's done a really nice job of that previously in the portal. Last 2 years, really nice job. So that's what they're looking for right now.
We're going to stay on the portal talk for a second. One Garza says, are you all confident that Texas will hit on all their defensive linemen that they need in the portal?
Confident. What's your confidence level there, Jerry? 75%, 50%, 90%?
I don't know yet. We need to see who all goes in, first of all. And then it's going to be highly competitive.
Yes.
But look, I think Texas will end up being fine, is my thought. And does that mean perfect? I think everybody's looking for the perfect teams. Nobody has the perfect team. But just a reminder that for those that think, it's just not going to happen. Well, we'll see. I mean, one of those. I think Texas will end up being fine.
Yeah, I would say 80 to 85% confidence for me. Not an A yet, because once you got to see one domino and then see the others. We don't know. The reality of it is that there may be one that's gone in the portal at this point that Texas is definitely interested in. There hasn't been others yet. And so we got to wait and see. Got to wait and see on those. But I would say that there's about an 80 to 85% chance that Texas gets what they need out of the portal, a defensive tackle, based on Steve Sarkisian's track record alone.
Hey, Sandman has a great question. I don't know the answer, and I wouldn't know the answer. When's the last time Texas football had a home game in December?
I don't think ever. Because I saw someone post that yesterday. So I've actually been researching that, and I've yet to find that at all. So still looking, though. I'll let you know, Sandman, what I find out.
Maybe in the war years or something like that. Just like 42, 43, 44.
Says never. Chat GPT says never, which makes sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah,
it definitely makes sense. I was just thinking there was some anomaly at some point.
If so, I'm with you. If so, it'd be something like that, between 41 and 45-ish, somewhere in there, maybe.
Heartbeat 10 asks about Bear Alexander. We don't think so. There have to be a big change there. I think he's down to 3.
Don P, thank you for your super chat, says, is there any chance that Texas brings in a true north and south big type running back in the portal?
Yes. Yes. They can't go into next year without knowing more of Cedric Baxter's health, in my opinion. That you just can't. That can't be your big back. And Jarrett Gibson, to this point, it's been mixed results for him. He's got the physique to be that guy, but is he that guy? I don't know, because we don't get enough chance to see him because he fumbles. I think that it's a very good chance Texas looks for one running back in the portal. What type? I think we could question.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a frontline starter guy.
Unless some freak goes in and Texas all of a sudden has an opportunity for a one.
I don't see it.
I don't see it either, but I'm just telling you. If Trevor Etienne went in the portal again from Florida last year, would Texas be interested in him this year, given their uncertainty at running back? Jerry, that's a fair question, right? That's the kind of guy I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And you still say no? You still don't think so?
Potentially.
Okay.
I just it's tough though. It's tough, I think. We'll see.
Weiser's really good.
Somebody asked, yes, there's 2 tremendous offensive tackles in 26. Jackson Cantwell out of the small town in Missouri. I can't remember the name of it.
Or something like that.
Over by Branson. Jackson Cantwell's a freak too now. And he's freakish everything. He is about to break something Brian Robeson would appreciate. He's about to break this year probably the national shot put record held by Michael Carter from Dallas Carter that's stood for 4 decades now. And he's also a top discus guy. I think his mom was a former track coach or thrower coach at SMU, may have been an Olympian, or the dad was an Olympian. The dad coached at Missouri. So there's a lot of things going in Missouri's favor, except the best players in Missouri are leaving. So that's not in their favor. But Texas has tried to recruit Cantwell a little bit. They hadn't gotten anywhere. I think Turntime's their guy. But there's two elite guys that I've seen in 26. And Cantwell's a stud.
And our next super chat comes from AR. Thank you as always, AR. And he says, I may be a little cynical, but I think the SEC coaches didn't want Texas players taking the majority of their awards.
Look, Alabama had more first teamers than Texas. Tennessee, I think there's an element of that. I tend to think of it a little bit differently. I really believe the first year in Texas didn't even play half the teams in the SEC. You got to remember that. They only played 7 teams or 8 teams. I guess they did play half. My point being, the other half has never seen Texas at all. I mean, I guess Alabama did, but Kalen DeBoer wasn't there last year. And I will also say this, SIDs vote for these players as much or more than the coaches. So coaches may say, oh, yeah, make sure you put that DB on there from Texas. But the SIDs are truly the voters. They also are the ones that vote in the coaches' polls. So when you start saying coaches, the coaches vote, every place, when I was around, I'll just put this, every place I've ever seen, the SIDs actually fill out the coaches' poll 9 times out of 10. Just saying.
I also think there's a lot of great players in the SEC, and
yeah.
I mean, look, you're splitting hairs with any of these guys on the certain. I mean, is Jahad Campbell not deserving? Of course he is. Jalen Walker didn't make first team.
And Jalen Walker just won the Butkus.
Exactly. So everybody's got. I just want to say everybody's got gripes. The Butkus winner didn't make first team All SEC. Literally the award winner. So, I mean, it's the league you're in where 70 guys are going to get drafted, and there's really good players at a lot of these schools. And, I mean, Deion Walker didn't even make first team. I mean, everybody's got a few.
Hey, Blake, we need to get need to read a couple of ads first, but then we need to talk about the schedule being released last night, the SEC schedule, big time there. Longhorns. You mentioned that December game. I know that's not next year. That's this weekend or this coming week. But what are your thoughts on Factor, my man, Blake Monroe?
That's right. Let me tell you all about Factor here. Sorry, I was getting that schedule ready. Okay, let's see if I can get this going here. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options that you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. So don't let shorter days of winter slow you down. Use your time more efficiently, which is so important during these dark months. Let Factor take shopping, prepping, cooking, and cleaning up off your daily list of things to do. Factor has something for everybody. You can find guilt-free comfort foods like home-style chicken and gravy and loaded mashed potato and pork chops, feel-good vegan options like sweet potato and chickpea curry, and globally inspired flavors like Peruvian shrimp. And I'll be the first to tell you that I love the variety that they offer. Yesterday, I think I had garlic chicken. Day before that, I had their pork chop meal. No telling what today will bring. They have so many options. You won't get tired of eating the same thing. They keep it fresh with new choices each and every week, and they all taste absolutely amazing. So head to factormeals.com/Texas50. Use promo code Texas50 to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code Texas50 at factormeals.com/Texas50 to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping while your subscription is still active. And Jerry, if you'll let everyone know about Public Rec, I would appreciate it.
This is my second Sackle read of today. Let's be real, guys. Wearing dress pants sucks. And who decided that stiff, uncomfortable jeans squeezing your family jewels was ever a good idea? Well, consider this your holiday miracle. Public Rec's Dealmaker pant gives you the comfort of sweatpants and the look and fit of jeans. Whether you're clocking at the office or teeing off on the golf course, These pants have you covered with their formal 5-pocket style and workday fabric that's both wind and water resist. I can't believe they are saying y'all are going to hit the ball in the water on the golf course. No matter what the weather throws your way, the Dealmaker pant is ready for action, clean, classic, and your go-to for every day. Stay comfortable this holiday season without compromising style, which is very important, because with Public Rec's Dealmaker pants, you really can have it all. And for a limited time, our listeners get 20% off with their entire order with code on Texas, all caps at publicrec.com. That's 20% off with code on Texas, all caps at publicrec.com. Look, maybe not today because it's cold, but wearing stiff khakis on the golf course is an absolute nightmare. Look at those PGA guys in like the 80s and 90s. Who wants that look? That they bunch, restrict, and by the 9th hole, you're counting down the seconds till you can get to the 19th hole to get out of these things. But with Public Rec's Dealmaker pants, there's no discomfort, no bunching, just smooth and stretchy freedom. Stretchy freedom sounds good. Again, stop suffering in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. For a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code on Texas, all caps at checkout.
Thank you, Jerry Hamilton. And Bobby, you are right. We do need to talk about that 2025 schedule reveal that came out yesterday evening for the Longhorns. Of course, they open up with Ohio State, which is no easy task, and at Ohio State.
That's my birthday, man. August 30th. I'll be in Columbus, Ohio next year.
Welcome to college football, Arch. Your first start as the starting quarterback at Texas is at Columbus, where they're going to throw things at you if you win.
But you can't plant the flag anymore, apparently.
No.
Ohio's trying to make it a felony. By the way, talk about useless needs of politicians. They're trying to make it a felony to plant a flag in the middle of a football field. So there you go. They got San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston later in non-conference. But this is where conference starts, October 4, Jerry. And what we really learned last night, going to Florida to start SEC play. I would be surprised if these two aren't two of the favorites in the conference coming into next year. Florida finished very strongly with DJ Lagway, at quarterback, Jaden Ball at running back. They showed some improvement on defense. You think they're probably going to get a little better on D. Then Texas goes, obviously, to the Cotton Bowl, plays OU, goes to Kentucky, goes to Mississippi State. What a lot of people are remarking about, if you notice those first 4 SEC games, no home games in the month of October for the Longhorns.
Yeah, look, the one thing that I would change about this schedule, I think it's great. This is a great schedule for fans that like to go on the road. Great schedule.
Oh, yeah.
You wish the open week was after Sam Houston before Florida. Then you would have literally maybe a perfect schedule in a weird way because you knew the schedule was going to be flipped, so you knew the road games. You just didn't know the dates. If you had an open week before Florida and an open week before Georgia, that might be just ideal, perfect for this schedule. I know the fans don't like the home schedule, but I don't have a problem with the home schedule because you end it with Arkansas and A&M in back-to-back weeks. I mean, what schedule's perfect, but I mean, you end it with 2 rivals and you end it with A&M at home. I mean, that's a strong home schedule at the back end, especially if you're playing for something. So my thoughts are, it's early. We're talking about all this. If you need to be 8-1 headed in the last 3, because 10-2 gets you in the playoffs, right? And I'm not saying you can't be 9-0, but I'm just saying you need to be 8-1 there, which we have all offseason to talk about. The other thing that's crazy about this schedule is playing the same teams in conference play. How many of those teams are going to have the same starting quarterback that you faced this year? Maybe 1, maybe 2.
Who's going to be the same? Taylor Green?
Taylor Green at Arkansas, maybe Marcel Reed at A&M. We'll see. Because Jacob Zeno's not a lock to be a starter. I think if both those guys are there, Taylor Green's, Reed's going to be the favorite to be the starter, and Zeno's a guy who has starting experience. But, I mean, Florida, DJ Lagway didn't start. Oklahoma, you just don't know. Is the kid from Washington State going to end up transferring to Oklahoma? If not, maybe Michael Hawkins. Kentucky, the freshman that came off the bench, he didn't start, but he'll be the player. Mississippi State lost everybody. Vanderbilt, Pavia is not going to be there. Georgia won't have the same starter. Probably be Gunnar Stockton if he plays well in the playoffs. If not, it's going to be an open competition between him and Rashada. Arkansas, Taylor Green will be back. We'll see at A&M. Should be Marcel Reed unless they get somebody else in the portal.
Yeah. Well, let's see who OU gets at quarterback, too. It looks like it's probably going to be that Washington State kid now that Jackson Arnold's in the portal. I don't know.
Somebody's asking about Carson Beck coming back. I wouldn't know that. I mean, I'd be surprised. I mean, I'd take my draft status wherever it is and go.
How does a UCL? How long does a UCL tear take coming back from?
6 to 9 months. But is it the same throwing a baseball as a football? I don't know all that because you get hit on the football field. I mean,
Wow.
from the arm standpoint, obviously it's probably the same. But
yeah, that's a horrible injury for that kid.
Yeah.
And I don't. You know, I feel bad for him because he went through a lot this year. And some of it is own doing, throwing interceptions, etc. But you don't want to see that kid played hard for Georgia.
Yeah.
You don't want to see a guy like that go out. Trey Moore did nothing wrong. It's a great football player by Trey Moore. It sucks for that kid because he just like it sucked for CJ Baxter to get injured, you know, or Jonathan Brooks last year. Hate to see kids go out like that.
All right, guys. Well, let's switch gears here and talk about the upcoming game for the Longhorns. And Jay Lee, thank you for your super chat. He wants to know, would you feel even better if our game was away? I think there's a lot of distractions in and around the program for big home games like this, such as Georgia.
No.
Go ahead, Jerry.
No, I want to play it at home. I want a home crowd. I think it's Texas fans are going to be jacked for this game. I think this team's going to be jacked for this game. No, I always want the game at home. Just look at the win percentages, home versus road. But I get what Jay Lee's asking, but no, you want to host the home game in the playoff. Would you rather be at Austin or Clemson?
It's more likely to be normal weather in Austin than it is in Clemson, South Carolina.
Yeah,
I will add that. This is the reality of it. Texas has won 11 straight true road games. Now, neutral site not included. Like, Saturday was a neutral site allegedly. So there's an element there of focus that Texas seems to have when they go on the road, but I don't know if that same focus carries over to the off season. So I actually think it's good that Texas has a home game in the off season right now.
I got a little news.
What's up?
I think Purdue defensive tackle Cole Brevard's on campus today as well.
All right. Let's go on and talk a little bit about Cole Brevard, if you don't mind bringing his profile up at some level there. That'd be
give me just a second on that one because I was
my
highly
question is that a threefer from Purdue? Is Dylan Finneman also on campus today?
Yeah, I mean, let's not put it at 100% yet, but let's review the tape of the kid. Let's just say that. Let's just look, but I think there's a good chance here.
Okay, all right, we hear you. Let's talk a little bit about Cole Brevard, and if you missed it, Max Clare, the tight end, also expected on campus for the Longhorns. He is a tight end, third string, third team, all Big Ten performer for Purdue this year. 51 catches, 685 yards. Max Clare on campus. Cole Brevard, Jerry, interior defensive guy out of Carmel, Indiana, 6'3", 333 pounds. He fits that role of big man in the middle that can clog the defense a little bit that Texas clog the run lanes that Texas has really pushed for of late.
Yeah, no, he was at Penn State, then went to Purdue. He was a top 300 4-star level kid coming out of high school. Really good player over the ball. SEC size. I mean, look, he is what Texas needs. Yes, Freddie, he's a take, no doubt. This guy's a take. He can play in the SEC. He can play over the ball in the SEC. He can play against the run in the SEC. This is if he does show up in Austin today, And we put him on a list and on TexasFootball.com yesterday. We knew this was one of the top guys. So we'll see. There'll be competition for this for Cole Brevard though. There's going to be competition. But you see stats this year. And again, more of an over the ball player. So, but he is a guy that has a lot of playing experience and has a lot of snaps in college football under his belt.
333 pounds, big human.
Yeah,
that's what they absolutely need that, because that is not Alex January, by the way. Alex January is a big kid, but he's not that 330-pound guy that's just going to clog the middle. He's more of a 2 or 3 technique, in my opinion. Naturally, doesn't mean he can't play over the ball.
Yeah,
but that's more of his true position, I think, long term. We'll see. I think this is big news for Texas, because obviously on the heels of Sadir Mitchell going in the portal, Tia Savea, Jure Bledsoe, Aaron Bryant. I mean, Texas literally has 4 guys that have gone in the portal at that defensive tackle position. They need to replenish with at least 3, if not 4. If they can get to 4, and the right 4 for them. Also, I do think it's important. We also mentioned Max Clare, that tight end for Purdue, on campus as well, Jerry. Those are important pieces for Texas.
Yeah, and look, it's this is again, I think more guys will jump in the portal that Texas is going to have interest in. I think this is kind of the first wave of guys, and this is a good development if both of these guys are on campus today.
Very positive.
Frank, the class. What about David Blay from La Tech? I like that kid. He had 6 sacks last year. He's a pass rusher. Penn State, Oklahoma have offered him. He's a really good player. We'll see if Texas shows any interest there.
One of the things to watch on him with Penn State is he's originally from the state of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So that may be. He had 6 sacks this year, by the way, as an interior guy. He also is more of a 2 or 3 technique as opposed to an over the ball guy. I love. Look, the one thing they have to have is they need 2 guys with bonus size. If they could get Brevard, Jerry, that's one of the 2 that they need. Then they need 1 or 2 that play 2 to 3 technique. Because I also think that the younger guys are more likely to be able to play 2 or 3 sooner than they could play a 0.
David Rawls asked about Hosea Wheeler out of Western Kentucky, a guy that, was recruited, played for Kenny Baker a little bit, had a really good season last year for Western Kentucky. We'll see.
Well, we're going to get back to some more questions here, and back to Clemson, actually, as that's the subject of our next few super chats. William Niche says, what's a scenario or 2 where you think Clemson could get the best of Texas? And does Texas need to spy Cade Klubnik?
I know Bobby and I are a little different on this game, which makes it fun to talk about. I think Texas can beat themselves is how they can lose this game. I think Clemson's a good team. I think they've got good players. I think they're a little bit of a smoke and mirrors 10-3 team, honestly. The 5 teams they played, I've said this in the chat this year, they played 5 teams with a 7-5 record or better. Georgia, start of the year, Pittsburgh, Louisville, South Carolina, SMU. They gave up 429 yards on average in those games. Would you say any of those teams were a great offense? No. And I'm not saying Texas is a great offense necessarily, because they haven't finished drives and they've turned the ball over and they haven't played a lot of clean football. But I don't know how good Clemson really is on defense. So if Texas comes out and plays at a high level, I think Clemson can have issues. TJ Parker's a good young player off the edge with size. Peyton Page and Peter Woods are good interior players, not Georgia. They don't have Georgia's front 7 as a whole. They have good players, young in the secondary, though, in some spots. But offensively, Clemson had 326 yards against SMU Saturday. I mean, I think they're a good football team, but I think you hear Clemson, you think national championships and ACC championships, and Dabo's done a wonderful job at that program. I don't think that's his team.
Yeah,
but can you lose the game? Sure.
My thing on this is Klubnik the best quarterback Texas has faced this year? Maybe. I mean, that's the real question. I also like him because he has not turned the ball over that much. He's really improved year over year on that. And I also think that, him having some familiarity with Austin is not a negative. I mean, he's played in DKR before. That matters if you're a quarterback more than any other position, by the way. You have a feel for the field and whether it's crowned a little, how even it is, et cetera. So he has the mindset there. I think it is the Clemson passing game. The only negative, the only reason I don't worry about it too much is I think the Texas pass rush should get to Klubnik a little.
Yeah.
That is clear. Texas is, 39 sacks, Jerry, and you talked about this preseason. That is a lot. And for Texas to be getting that much pressure, whether it's from Colin Simmons, Trey Moore, Ethan Burke, Barron Sorrell, or any of the interior guys, Anthony Hill, that's just been a categorical change and changes the mindset of a quarterback or an offensive coach when they go play Texas too. So there's a reason Texas is 11.5-point favorites right now.
Papa Horn asks, has Clemson played a great defensive team? The highest ranked team defensively they played was South Carolina. SMU's 30th in defense, total defense in college football. They had 326 yards in that game. Obviously, Georgia has the talent in the front seven. Georgia's, I think, ranked around 40 in total defense of the country. You almost have to throw out the first game of the year on some level because Clemson has really improved since then. But Clemson had 188 yards in that game. I mean, they couldn't move the ball for until that game was out of hand. And then, they had 346 against Pitt, who Narduzzi may not have great personnel, but that guy's a tremendous defensive coach. So after that, they played 3 defenses ranked in the top 50 in the country, and South Carolina's the highest at 17. I'm not saying Clemson can't win the game, but I'm saying if Texas plays well, Clemson should not win the game.
If Texas plays cleanly.
Yeah, enough.
Texas is turning the ball over too much right now. If you had to ask me one thing they're doing that can get them against Clemson, it's turning the ball over.
Yeah. Zane, obviously Clemson, Georgia was 6-0 at halftime because Georgia had their struggles on offense, but did you ever think Clemson was really a threat to do anything offensively in that game?
All right. Ernest with the super chat says, I watched Brooks Austin break down the film from the SEC championship game. My major takeaway was how much stress the RPO put on the defense. I love this look for the arch package throughout the college football playoff. It seems like a no-brainer. What are your thoughts?
I just don't see Sark going away with what he's done. I mean, everybody that wants to put Arch in there and run the Arch, you can run the RPO with Quinn. He's really good at it. The only negative with Quinn and the RPO is he gets the ball batted a little bit too much. He's good at it. He's good at reading it.
I think red zone is the one area where you could see more of Arch at times.
Absolutely.
But you're not going to, they're 11-2 and the number 3 seed, number 3 team, number 5 seed.
Yeah. You're not going to see wholesale changes.
No chance.
Maybe changes in the red zone or in specific instances, 3rd and short, 4th and short, like we did, but not wholesale changes, not in the middle. Now, the future of the Texas offense, I think, is going to look different with Arch Manning because Arch Manning has different strengths than Quinn Ewers has. And so I would say next year, this time, Texas is going to be a different offense. They just will be.
Hey, and speaking of the playoffs and Clemson and Bobby, we need to tell everyone out there about the tailgate next weekend. I'm going to let you run it down here, and I'm going to put the link in the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Our friends over at Surly Horns are putting on a show again. It's time for your tailgate. If you're going to the game, you're going to want to celebrate with the guys. Pre-game over at the LBJ Lawn right next to the Joe C. Thompson Conference Center. It is literally the place to be. We've had hundreds of people show up, and thousands actually, throughout the year. We had a great time. They've got tickets available right now. If you're going to be going to the game, make sure you stop by, get your tailgate tickets ahead of time. They will run out. So anyways, I want to put that out there. Rick Vasquez and the guys just do a phenomenal job with their pregame tailgates, food, drinks. I think they're going to have a bartender for this one as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Make sure you check it out. Blake, you put the link in the chat. We'll put it also on Texas Football as well for those of you guys that want to place outside of the chat to find it. Again, on texasfootball.com, or go straight to the link that Blake drops in the chat.
Thank you, Bobby. And then if you don't mind, Bobby, as well, I would like you to let everyone know about D&G Construction.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Valdez is a guy that's been a longtime viewer of On Texas Football. He is one of the guys at DG Construction that wants you to give them a call or visit online at dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com. Texas fans in the Austin and San Antonio area, if you're dreaming of transforming your outdoor space, look no further than DG Construction, the Hill Country's premier hardscape and exterior living space contractor, celebrating 10 amazing years of delivering top-notch craftsmanship. The guys at DG Construction are experts at creating stunning driveways, patios, walkways, and beautiful lawn improvements in either concrete or vivid pavers that match and enhance the curb appeal of your home's exterior. So whether you're in San Antonio, Austin, Kerrville, or anywhere in the Hill Country, their dedicated team brings your residential and commercial visions to life, from luxurious artificial turf to sturdy house slabs and even foundation repairs. DG Construction has got you covered. They're just a call away. Reach out to Mark Valdez, their dedicated design consultant and a longtime member of On Texas Football, for a free consultation. 210-400-5643. That's 210-400-5643. Or visit them online, dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com.
More super chats to get to here this morning, and we're going to start with this one from Miguel Rodriguez. He says, Texas volleyball 19 straight Sweet 16s. The game is tomorrow. Hard to argue with those results.
They're in the Penn State regional, correct?
Yes, they got moved up there because look, Texas volleyball had an uncharacteristic swoon.
Yeah.
Mid-season, where they apparently had some issues at setter, uncharacteristic issues of the program. We'll see how they rebound in State College this week.
And then Naaman Roberts says, Jerry, thank you for asking Tony Hills about the zone blocking, because I've said all year that we have the biggest O-line in the SEC, and we are running side to side and not straight forward.
Yeah, I mean, I want to be clear. I just want to hear Tony's perspective on it, because I'm not necessarily I'm not questioning Kyle Flood and Steve Sarkisian. They're in the college football playoff 2 years in a row, the only team to do it. I just wanted – my question to Tony was, if that is what you do a very high percentage at a time, when you get in the red zone, can you really, from an offensive lineman perspective, that's what I wanted to get from his perspective, really see that as changing in the red zone. That was my whole point of the question. I'm not sitting here saying I don't know more than Steve Sarkisian or Kyle Flood. I'm not questioning what they do. I want to make that clear, because they've had a lot of success and they have brought Texas back, and they're going to have multiple guys drafted, and you're in the college football playoff for the second year in a row. I just wondered in the red zone if you could kind of flip the script a little bit there from an offensive line perspective, player perspective.
I think this is a Coffee and Football first, because we have a super chat from an opposing fan. I don't think I've ever read a super chat from an opposing fan before.
I love that. Koozie. I'm going to call you Koozie because you may be drinking with this question. But thank you for the super chat.
That's right.
No, that's great. Bring all your friends. I like it, man. I think this is great. TJ Parker, good young player. Interesting enough, Dabo's two most highly recruited defensive linemen, maybe best players on that defensive line, are from the state of Alabama, his home state. TJ Parker was Phoenix City Central there on the Alabama-Georgia line. A really good player, 6'3", 265. 6 of his 11 sacks came in 2 games. He had 4 against Pitt. So really good player, sophomore. And then Peter Woods is from Alabaster, Alabama. So Two of their very best are from Alabama, Dabo's home state, and really good players. And we'll see. I expect Texas to hold up well.
Hey, Cuzzy, I got to say this. We're going to have a Clemson beat writer on tomorrow. So you might want to check back in, as well as Texas fans. Just go get their view on this game. I think it's always important for us to try to not just give our own biased maybe view or a one-sided view. We're going to bring in a Clemson beat writer tomorrow to talk a little Clemson Tiger, Texas football. Also, Vic Schaefer expected in tomorrow. Blake, is that correct? The Texas women's basketball coach? Always fun to visit with him.
He'll be joining us tomorrow. And for those listening, I want to go back, rewind for just a second here. Koozie said in the super chat, because we never read it, Quinn Ewers will learn TJ Parker soon. Go Tigers. So thanks for being our first opposing fan super chat. I don't think I've ever read one before in the 2+ years that I've been doing this with y'all. I think that's a first for sure.
Hey, by the way, I'm going to bring one up because I love it when all our buddies in the chat take a stand. Jose Rodriguez just took a stand. If Texas loses to Clemson, I'll manscape myself while eating corn dog with mayo in my Tacovas. That's a hell of an ad read. You should start writing the ad reads
while wearing a duck camp hat.
Yes,
there you go.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, our next one comes from Splenda Daddy. Thank you, Splenda Daddy. How much OU trash talk can we get for $5? I heard the running wing tee for the bowl game.
Did you really hear that?
They may not
have. They may not have. I mean, they don't have a tight end. You know, but they don't have any receivers. I mean, who's going to play receiver for them? Brennan Thompson and the walk-on from is it Southlake, or where's that guy from? Yeah. The little smaller guy.
Now,
I don't know who they have left.
That's
Farouk's gone. Nick Anderson's gone. Andrell Anthony is gone. JJ Hester is gone. Jaquez Petaway is gone. They had more receivers go in the portal than they lost to injury this year.
Yeah. That's
up receiving tight end is gone.
Yeah. Isaiah Stewart says bet the under on that game. Absolutely.
Who are they playing?
Navy.
That is one thing. You could count on Brent Venables, I think, to stop Navy's offense.
Yes.
I mean, I think that will keep them in the game.
You would hope so, for sure.
Yeah, you would think. Although if they have any opt-outs on defense, I haven't heard that, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure. All right, Jordan.
The whole game sounds like riveting to me. What do you think, Jared?
Yeah.
3-0. Over under of 10.
Well, how many players is A&M going to have versus you? A&M USC, both guys are just boom gone to the NFL portal. That game's going to be interesting too, out in Las Vegas. Johnny Manziel will be at that game. It's in Vegas. How many players are those guys going to have? I mean, Shamar Stewart's opted out for the NFL, right? You figure, will Shamar Stewart and Skyerton do the same thing?
There is no more appropriate comment that you've ever made in the history of time than that. Johnny Manziel will be in Vegas for that game.
Yes.
Like there's just no doubt. Oh, goodness.
Jordan Coffee, thank you for your super chat. Jordan says everyone in the chat was worried about defensive line recruiting earlier this year. Look how it turned out. We're going to be fine. Just trust the process.
We agree.
Yeah. I'm not worried. I think Texas will fill needs. I think they're going to be fine. Here's the thing for me. Now, first game of the year is at Ohio State. And my concern isn't for the position. I think Texas will be fine. I think they got really good freshmen coming in that are going to develop over the course of the season. I think Alex January is going to be a really, really good player. I think Melvin Hills will be a good rotational player. You got to assume all these guys stick around. You never know in college football anymore. But that first game of the year against Ohio State, are they going to be ready for that is my question. I think they'll be fine for the season. I think Kenny Baker, Sark, they're going to do well.
And then our next one here, Jerry's for you from Travis Bingham. He says, Jerry, why is the linebacker bust rate so high when it comes to recruiting?
Bobby, I think it's because it's such a projection position. And the reality is it's an extremely instinctive position. I've always thought running back, linebacker, and safety are the most instinctive positions on a football field. And quarterback's different than everything, so leave that on the side. But we live in a world where a lot of spread football is played in high school, and you're projecting what guys are going to do. Oh, we'll just make him a linebacker. Okay. That's a lot easier said than done. Because there's an instinctive part to that. You can't just make anybody an inside linebacker, by the way. You can make somebody an edge rush guy from time to time in a scheme, but it's a tough position to project, and the instincts are undervalued, in my opinion.
I think that people, to Jerry's point, people try to think, okay, we'll just make him a linebacker. He's very athletic. He's got good size. We'll just make him a linebacker. I'll say this. Anthony Hill is a perfect example. Not exactly the most instinctual linebacker when he came in, but he was so disruptive and so athletic that he's overcoming those things and learning on the job. Okay. The reality of it is that if you're a notch down athletically from Anthony Hill, just one single notch down, you're not getting on the field until you're a junior. It is very rare that you are actually that athletic and that disruptive. And so it takes longer, in my opinion, to bake those kind of players and bake the cake for those types, unless they are true anomalies. And Anthony Hill, in my opinion, is a true anomaly in that regard. Instead, you see guys that maybe 6 foot 215, like Leonga Lafau, that's been playing linebacker forever, that understands the game, find time. Nobody would have said, give me the one guy athletically that is clearly going to play early for Texas. You would have picked Leonga Lafau maybe last athletically. That's not a knock on him, by the way. I mean, just trying to say he's among, an elite team like Texas. But he was one of the first. That's why, and I don't know that people can properly quantify that coming out of high school that well. Anthony Smith, natural football player, instinctual football player. You look at him right now, does he look more ready to go physically than Darian Gillette, who's in the portal? If you were just looking at them side by side, you say, oh, Darian Gillette should be more ready to play than Anthony Smith. It doesn't work that way.
No.
All right, the next one here comes from Antonio Harris. Antonio says, how many defensive linemen are active? Looking very thin now.
I don't think anything's changed for the team. In reality, Sadir Mitchell played 36 snaps this year, and he's a situational guy. And maybe it hurts you in a situational with a situational opponent a little bit, but he played 36 snaps this year. And so, look, your top 5 guys are your top 5 guys. You run NASCAR package on third down. Nothing's really changed with this team this year. If you have a rash of 2 guys injured against Clemson, you aren't winning anyway. So it doesn't matter if those guys were still here. I mean, that's the reality for me. Nothing's changed with this season at all. It's just it's steady as she goes with what's has got Texas there. Now, if you have 2 of your first 3 go down with injury, some freak thing against Clemson, you aren't winning anyway. So it doesn't matter because the guys you're replacing with aren't going to be close to the same. They're just bodies who haven't played.
Very telling they did not use Sadir on any of those interior runs against Georgia or A&M or on the goal line. As the year has gone on, Bill Norton's gotten more snaps in those situations. So he's your interior guy along with Lole, Broughton, and Collins.
And by the way, if something happened injury-wise, I think it would take something catastrophic. And what are the odds in the playoffs?
Yeah.
By the way, and people ask about D-line with Texas having essentially 2 guys coming back right now. I don't really think they're alone. I know we talk about Texas, but that's why I think the portal D-line recruiting is going to be, those guys have leverage, the best guys. They have a lot of leverage because you look at A&M. What do they have coming back? Albert Regis and DJ Hicks. What does Georgia have coming back really on D-line? Brinson, senior. Stackhouse, senior. Mikael Williams going to draft. Christian Miller's draft eligible. Felt like getting the heck out of town. I mean, like I don't think it's a Texas problem. I think there's some. One of the young kids from Georgia, similar Sadir, hadn't even played as much, just hit the portal. So Georgia may have one more guy in reality, but there's more teams that are like Texas than aren't. Than I think people kind of realize.
Daryl with the super chat. Thank you, Daryl. We appreciate you. He says, as far as roster construction goes, what's the importance of portal recruiting in comparison to high school recruiting? Is it split 50-50? The numbers from high school, but top end quality and whole plugs from the portal. Your thoughts?
It's not 50-50. How many portal guys started for Texas this year? Let's go that way, or played a significant role. Okay, quarterback, right? Isaiah Bond, Matthew Golden. I'll put Silas Bolden in that category too, just because he returned punts, right, Jerry? Mm-hmm. So that's just 4 on offense. Amari Niblack did not play a key role this year. On defense, Lole and Norton, that's 6. And Makuba, that's 7. And Trey Moore, 8. So 8 of 44 or 40 or so of your key guys. Texas goes about 40 deep on a weekly basis. So what do I think? I think that's pretty good. It's not – it gives you an example or a sense that it's at least 70-30, 75-25, not 50-50. The thing that I think is, and one of the reasons why I think college football is a better sport right now, you can backfill obvious holes much more readily than you ever could before. I mean, look, if I need a quarterback, I can go out and get a quarterback because somebody else transferred or his shoulder got hurt or whatever. Okay, I can go find 3 defensive tackles if 4 leave. I can go find these things that otherwise would put my season just at a toxic risk, in my opinion. So I think it's more 75-25, but you can't diminish the value of either side. Like, it's important that Texas grabbed Isaiah Bond and Matthew Golden. It's important that Texas grabbed Andrew Makuba and Trey Moore. So that's my take. Jermaine Lole, Bill Norton. Extremely important to this team right now and to their playoff run.
GB and Austin, thank you for your super chat. GB says, as Texas might possibly meet Georgia in the national championship game, I'm curious, how are the team of officials determined for the game? Hook 'em.
Man, I have no clue on that. I have no clue of that. GB, I'm sorry about that. Georgia's not going to the national championship, though. I'm just telling you. Jerry's different than me. They're not going to the national championship game with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. It ain't happening. If Texas would have known Gunnar Stockton was playing that whole game, Georgia would have scored 3 points. That's my opinion. Because they would have got out ahead of them, and it would have been over.
I don't disagree necessarily, but I think Georgia still has the ability to overwhelm other teams. Yeah, like so. One of the interesting games will be is if Notre Dame plays Georgia. It's going to be funny how people nationally their tunes change. 3 weeks ago, people said Notre Dame shouldn't be in. Period. They hadn't played anybody. Lost Northern Illinois. Shouldn't be in. Now a lot of those same people are going to start picking Notre Dame over Georgia. That didn't think they should be in 3 weeks ago.
I'll be one of them, by the way.
I know, but
they got a quarterback that can run. And I mean, I'm telling you,
they just haven't played talent like this. It'll be interesting to see how they adjust because Notre Dame hasn't played any talent like this year. And I think I like Riley Leonard. I think the running backs are really good. But let's see if they hold up against all that talent. That's going to be their
only move the ball against Texas out of the 2 tight end look. If Texas knew that they were only going to see 2 tight end, and they went 5 wides and ran quarterback keep, quarterback draw. That's the only way. So if you know that, anyways, my point is, I think Georgia's a little bit of a dead man walking in this playoffs without Carson Beck. Really believe that.
Jerry's Jack Link says, obviously, Georgia has a great defensive line, but I think their linebackers, I think it's their linebackers that are the difference maker. Clemson kind of similar in that way, and that is my one worry in this game.
I would say lightly similar. They don't have the level of NFL draft pick guys that Georgia has, a linebacker, front seven in general. But lightly, they're talented players, but there's no Jalen Walker on that team. And Raylan Wilson, who you don't even hear his name mentioned. I mean, they have
Michael Williams.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot on that front seven. It's the reason they've signed the number 1 or 2 class last 6-7 years.
Clemson has good players. Don't get us wrong. I mean, we're not sitting here. It's just Georgia. I mean, look, Jerry just named 3 guys that might be top 10 picks. Clemson may have 3 guys that are top 40 picks or 50, right? I mean, it's just there's degrees of excellence, in my opinion.
Mario Ortiz, we hit on that. We hit on that earlier in the chat that Max Clare is scheduled to visit Texas today, as well as probably Cole Brevard, the interior defensive lineman for Purdue. So we'll see if anybody else shows up.
Random name.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Jerry.
No, that was it.
Oh, okay. Random name 25 says, when will Ohio State game tickets be available?
Boy, you guys are asking some odd questions with official. I didn't have no clue. That's an Ohio State game policy and Longhorn Foundation policy for those that are allotted for the University of Texas. So you'll have to be to get tickets in the Texas section, you'll have to be a foundation member and apply for tickets through your normal season ticket application. I'm sure that whole allotment will be filled by Longhorn Foundation members, so it'll be hard, but you can put in for them if you have season tickets. After that, it's going to go straight through Ohio State ticketing, and I don't know their policies or when they go on sale, etc. I think Texas usually has their season ticket renewals go out in February, March these days is when we'll see that go for Texas.
Here's one we have to take. And I know people are we're looking ahead. It's all about Clemson or show. We're not playing. Would you rather play Ohio State or Oregon in the semifinals? Ohio State 10 out of 10 times. It's Ryan Day, 1, and it's Oregon does have differentiator speed. I'm not sure they're very good defensively, but they have differentiator speed on turf indoors. I'd rather play Ohio State. Oregon's better at quarterback as well. I think they're better at head coach and quarterback, and they have more speed.
I'm with you on that. Douglas Scott, thank you for your super chat. Is next year a rebuild/retool year?
Not
both
for
of
me.
you shaking your head no.
No. I mean, you got Arch Manning at quarterback. Hell no. I mean, I know what you're thinking with the offensive line, and even Texas is not going to do this anymore. I'm just telling you. Sark's here to win every year. And Texas NIL is here to win every year. So, no. If it is, not because he wanted it to be or thought it had to be.
Yeah, that's the truth. And by the way, and I'll continue to say it, there's no reason to walk up in front of a podium in college football, the blue blood anymore, and say we're an inexperienced team. That excuse does not exist in this world.
It shouldn't.
Nope.
All right. Ben says, does Jade win the Thorpe? Sorry, if answered. Of course, we will find out that result tonight, fellas.
My answer is he should, but can't say if he will, obviously.
The other guys have, I think, 1 interception apiece or something. And Jade has 5 now.
He should. That's a really big deal if he does, by the way, guys.
I think he will. I'll also say this. I mean, Kelvin Banks won the Lombardi. If y'all just joining us in the last hour, Kelvin Banks won the Lombardi last night down in Houston over Abdul Carter, Kyle Kennard, and Will Campbell from Penn State, South Carolina, and LSU, respectively. He won it in his hometown. I think that's awesome. He's up for the Outland tonight in Orlando. That is down to Kelvin Banks, Mason Graham out of Michigan, and Walter Nolan out of Ole Miss. I could see that one going any number of ways. I do think it's positive probably that Banks is the only offensive player of those three finalists. That could give you some more votes coming your way. But good stuff for the Longhorns. We talked about it prior. Longhorns winning a lot of national awards right now in consecutive years. Not only the Lombardi last night for Banks, but a year ago, Tavondre Sweat won the Outland. The year before that, Bijan Robinson won the Doak. A lot of positive momentum that is just another arrow in the quiver for Steve Sarkisian as he tries to target recruits or portal. Win national awards, play in big games, go to the college football playoff, get recognized, go in the NFL draft, NIL support, all of those things coming together.
If Barron wins a Thorpe, that's a really big deal, kind of like Kelvin Banks last night. You're getting to this territory. The last guy to win the Thorpe for Texas, Michael Huff in 2005. So we're getting back to the guys who won these awards played in national championship games. They have played on those teams that were ranked 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Like Tavondre Sweat last year winning the Outland. By the way, that's another thing. If Kelvin Banks was to win tonight, and I'm not saying he is, if the last team to have back-to-back Outland winners, Nebraska, 82 and 83, Dave Remington and, I can't remember his name.
Steinkühler, probably.
Yeah.
Dean Steinkühler?
Yeah. It's been over 40 years since the same team won back-to-back Outlands.
Wow.
Yeah. You're getting there some rarefied air with these awards.
Ed B says, when do we find out? I don't have the exact time, but it's the Home Depot College Award Show on ESPN tonight. My guess is 7 p.m. Central, somewhere right in there for sure. So y'all can all watch that and root Jade on. And then Blake says, is A&M's 2022 greatest recruiting class ever actually the biggest bust in the history of recruiting?
Dude, you are the first host to ever send a super chat. This is wild.
I don't think that was for me.
No, it was from you. You just wanted this answered. Yes. The answer is yes. I mean, not just on the field, but the players themselves.
By the way, Connor Wegman committed to Houston.
Yep.
We didn't mention that this morning.
That's not a job saver. Willie Fritz, by the way. That ain't what you want.
Connor Wegman's better than Jacob Zeno, in my opinion, by the way. So I don't know that they traded up.
I think high school Wiegman was for sure.
Yeah.
I just wonder what Wiegman you're going to get at Houston.
Yeah. That's true.
But we'll see. But just you go down that class. I mean, it's why I think culture is an overused term, but it is why it has a lot of importance. It's who you recruit and what you do once you get them there. That class had some. If you do the job like I do, there was about 6 or 7 you could pretty much call your shot on.
Ben, thank you for contributing that to chat. 8 o'clock for the Thorpe, Jerry and Blake, according to Ben.
All right, Bobby, will you let everyone know about Austin Underground one last time before we get to the last few questions?
I absolutely will. Austin Underground is owned and operated by our friend Rick Vavro. Rick, a serial entrepreneur, but since 2004, Rick and his team at Austin Underground have specialized in difficult underground commercial installations. The team's engineering background gives Austin Underground the ability to perform work other firms often consider just too risky. Rick and his team offer end-to-end client experience, including seamless communication, budgeting, staffing, and top-notch trade partners. And most importantly, they produce solid quality work each and every time. Also, they have a sister company, Texas Road. So if you have major road projects at a ranch or subdivision, etc., reach out to Rick and his team at Texas Road. Thanks, Rick, for your sponsorship all year long of On Texas Football. We appreciate you very much.
By the way, one thing we haven't brought up we need to is Bill Belichick to UNC officially. This is one, it's going to be interesting. And I think obviously setting up his son with this. And he obviously coaching is in the blood. I get it. And if North Carolina really makes that NIL commitment is interesting as well. But this is the first time that I can ever remember that a football coach at North Carolina is actually more popular than a basketball coach. I never thought I would say that about North Carolina.
It doesn't mean attendance is going to follow.
No,
by the way.
It will early.
$10 million a year is what they're paying him. $10 million a year.
Well, he'll never see big time college football because he's going to be stuck in the ACC until 2035. So
it'll be interesting to see.
They are not going to be highly competitive in NIL outside of the amount typically that will be distributed via any kind of payroll. North Carolina just won't do that in football. They do in basketball. They just won't do it in football. So he's going to have problems backfilling holes. He thinks he's going into a situation where he might be on an even playing field. Bill Belichick does not have the charisma of Nick Saban or the experience in college football with recruiting that Nick Saban had when he returned. The guys that went from pro to college that dominated were Pete Carroll and Nick Saban. Both of those guys have some charisma to them.
Pete Carroll was nicknamed High School Harry for a reason.
Yeah, he does not.
Yeah,
Belichick is a good coach. I mean, unbelievable coach, and he may win some games because of his coaching. I'm not debating him and his roster management and all that stuff, but he's not. It's not that. He's gonna find that out fairly quickly, probably.
All right. Our next one from Edward. Thank you, Edward. Where would you rank Quinn in college football playoff quarterbacks? And if everyone had the same quarterback, what team would be your favorite to win?
That's an interesting question. So here's your quarterbacks in the college football playoff. Curtis Rourke, Indiana; Dylan Gabriel, Oregon; Sam Levitt, Arizona State; Cade Klubnik; Riley Leonard; Drew Allar; Kevin Jennings; Will Howard; Nico Maddox Matson, Boise; Quinn; and Gunnar Stockton.
Best college quarterback of that group is Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
Best college quarterback. Now,
best
best NFL prospect in that group, in my opinion, is Drew Allar.
Most underrated of that group, Sam Levitt at Arizona State as a college player. He's really good.
Or Curtis Rourke.
Yeah.
From Indiana. Very good player. I don't know. I mean, Quinn's 4, 5, 6 in that ranking, probably. Just dependent. As high as 2, as low as 8.
From a QBR rating, he's 10 of 12.
Yeah. I would take him.
I think he's better than that, but he's 10 of 12 in QBR out of that group.
Yeah. Best roster. As much as you said that about Georgia and how much you like their roster, Jerry, their receivers are not. They ain't it. I mean, I think it's one of the reasons why I think this. It's one of the reasons why I think it's winnable. I mean,
I
think by anybody. I think there are a number
of anybody, but about 6 teams is winnable. Yeah,
about 17. I think we came up with 7 teams yesterday, Jerry.
Yeah,
that we thought could make it through. My pick right now is probably Oregon. If Oregon may have the best talent overall, if you're looking for receivers as well as defense as well as offense, I don't know. I don't know more than that. I do give them a nod at quarterback in particular, even though Gabriel can lose you a game every so often too. He hasn't. Kid's a winner.
By the way, somebody also asked, I want to answer this while we're on that subject. is Cam Scatterbo the best running back Texas will have faced if they get to that game? He's definitely different, but does he have the offensive line? The same way he made yards this season, could he do that against the Texas front?
So, my opinion, the two best running backs Texas faces Trevor Etienne and Jaden Ball. The Florida freshman is a little freaky, in my opinion. I think that'll prove out over the next 2 years. I think Scatterbo, if you want to know who he reminds me of, it's Mike Allstott.
Yeah.
That's who he reminds me of.
Yeah.
Former Purdue running back that played in the NFL for Tampa. To Jerry's point, you have to gang tackle him. And unless the Arizona State offensive line is really, really talented and good, Texas is going to be able to gang tackle. You're going to have a hard time getting him in one-on-one situations against Texas. I'll just put it that way. You're not going to be able to do what Georgia did and line up in two tight ends and force Texas into one-on-one situations with their running back.
Junior Gong says, do we really think Jacob Manu has a chance over Leona LaFau?
That's a linebacker from Arizona that's in the portal who got injured this year. So question there. Oh, we'll see if there's any true movement.
Yeah,
on that front.
There's three guys that we're monitoring, by the way, from Arizona, if you haven't heard. Takario Davis, the corner, who is an all Pac-12 performer. Dalton Johnson, the safety from Katy, originally 2-year starter at Arizona. And then also want to mention Jacob Manu, the linebacker that played for Johnny Nansen.
Who's a good player if he's healthy. As a good player if he's healthy, but is he actually going to be healthy after last year? And
didn't he have an ACL mid-year?
Yeah.
All right. Our last one for today, fellas, comes from Splenda Daddy, formerly Sugar Daddy. Thank you again for another super chat. We appreciate you as always. He says, if OU keeps sliding, will they have a hard time bringing in someone better than burnt vegetables? The NIL era doesn't look promising for them.
Profit sharing. Oklahoma's a blue blood program. Not in the SEC, they aren't going to have a problem.
I said this when Arkansas went into the SEC. Arkansas went from a quasi-national power, top 15 program to top 20. And they went in when they didn't have good coaching. Okay. I don't know if Brent Venables is going to be a good coach for them. I think he's a really good defensive coach. I think he's got question marks across his program, though, and how he's running it somewhat. Because it's just not – 2 bad seasons out of 3 is not good. Does Oklahoma perhaps become like Arkansas in the SEC, in that they are the outpost of the SEC, furthest team away, etc., without the backing of a state that produces as much talent as Texas? My thinking on it is this: I think Oklahoma cares so much that they're going to come back in some way, shape, or form, even if it's not through Brent Venables. So Arkansas couldn't do that. I think that OU can and will eventually.
I agree.
Now, will it hurt them with what coach they can hire? I don't think so. I mean, Oklahoma, to Jerry's point, at least right now, come back to me in 10 years, and if they've had mediocre years for 10 or 15 years like Arkansas, or 20 years like Arkansas has kind of had, come back and talk to me. Arkansas sitting there with Sam Pittman, probably should have fired him twice now and haven't. I don't know. We'll see. I wouldn't think that. I'll just put it that way.
All right, guys. So that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Rick Favreau and Austin Underground. Want to thank them, along with Tacovas, Manscaped, Public Rec, Factor, and D&G Construction. It's 420 somewhere. It says, thank you for all the hard work and great content. Can we get an app, please? Also, When will the white hats be available again, Bobby?
Well, these white hats are available. The ones with just the logo are officially sold out. Make sure you check out what we have available. I don't think we're going to have any before Christmas that are the logo hats. We do have the patch hats as well as the mugs. The patch hats come in black, gray, or white as well. Make sure you shop online at shop.ontexasfootball.com. That's shop.ontexasfootball.com. We're getting the orders out the same day that y'all bring them in. So it should be delivered, and we're shipping first class, I believe. So shipping should be there well in time for Christmas. Again, shop.ontexasfootball.com. And Jerry, you and I both know we need to do a plug for our website right now, because news is going to be breaking over there as it relates to the portal. That's where we put news yesterday on Sadir Mitchell, as well as other stuff. On TexasFootball.com, special offer through the end of this year, $39.95 for 1 year. Become an OTF OG by using promo code OTF OG. Again, just $39.95 for a year. If you've ever had a subscription, there's no catch, no gimmicks. On TexasFootball.com. Please join us and join our community. I love what you guys are doing over there. I read it every day, and it's fun stuff. Appreciate you guys being a part of it.
Hey, you don't have to bring up the question, but I want to respond to a really good point. Patrick Page, go Lobos, brought up a really good point. It's not just Texas and Texas A&M in NIL competing against Oklahoma. It's now SMU. That's a really good point, actually. It's even more difficult than ever for Oklahoma to win in DFW and in Texas. It's a good point, Patrick Page. I like it. Well done, sir.
And I put this up, but I don't think we actually got into it. But when we were talking earlier, Max Muller with Super Chat says this football team needs art support.
Yeah, I like it. Funny clown word.
We'll see what happens there. All right. As Bobby said, head on over to ontexasfootball.com and then be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, ring the bell so you're notified anytime that we go live or post content. That way you don't miss a thing like what's coming later today right here on Texas Football. So we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll see you.